Well, the Cardinals had their chance to take the series from the San Diego Padres. They were not able to do so after winning the first two games of the series. They lose the final two, including today, a 9-2 clunker. Michael McGrevy didn't have it from the start, and the results soon followed. So the Cardinals are back to 54-53, one game over 500. The trade deadline is like, 96 hours away. The direction to me is obvious, but we will see what John Mozeliak does, just to what degree the Cardinals sell. Right now, though, just another disappointing series for the Cardinals. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. Katie and Bernie here on your Sunday recap. Bernie, do you have some thoughts about what we saw today from McGrevy?
Well, I do, but first I want to throw this out there. It was pretty cool the way the Cardinals won the first two games of the series, and it didn't really change my overall view that this team's got too many problems to win a wild card spot, even though the teams in front of them, other than Cincinnati, haven't been playing all that well. But the Cardinals got some, we'll talk about this, like really serious flaws in areas that are really, really important. And so, but I couldn't help but think though, especially when Miles Michaelis dodged 39 hits or something, but no, it was like a weird game Friday night. But I remember thinking, I was thinking, it's like, well, this is kind of interesting. Suppose these guys like sweep this series or even win 3 out of 4. Maybe they'll make it tough on Mo or they'll give him something more to think about. But I think it's just so typical Cardinals. They're so erratic and so inconsistent. So they win the first two games of the series. Good for them, seriously. And I'm sorry, you got to win. You got to win one of those final two games. You got to win the series if you want the president of baseball operations to step up for you. If this is like, in other words, if the Cardinals are making the people in the clubhouse are making their closing arguments, hey, don't give up on us. This is why. Don't give up on us. Here's why. Well, it was a pretty bad closing argument, by losing those two games. So anyway, I didn't mean to get off course, but it is related. Now, I was disappointed in Michael McGrevy, and listen, I think he's going to be a good back-end starter for the Cardinals. I like everything about him, but there was a little bit of reality there today because, again, it's not a guy that is going to roll up strikeouts, so the ball's going to be in play a lot. And so if he's missing his spots or he's behind in the count and he sort of has to come in, he can't really pitch around guys, although he did have an opportunity to do that a little bit with Machado today. But the point is, that's what happens when you have a staff other than Sonny Gray, where you just don't have a ton of swing and miss or strikeouts. You're vulnerable. And like we saw him vulnerable today, but I also got to tip the cap to the Padres hitters because their stars were excellent in the final two games. We're talking about Tatis, Array. We're talking about Machado. If you look at what they did the last two games in the series, they were 15 for 51. But if you look at what they did the last two games in the two wins, those three guys, 13 for 24, 5 RBIs, 5 runs scored. So as much as I just don't want to be too tough on McGrevy. He's just getting started. But I also think this game, the last two nights, showed us something you and I, Katie, have talked about a lot. And this final thing I'll say here, then I'll shut up. The Padres have stars, even though their offense has struggled, right? No doubt about it. It has struggled, but it's about other people in the lineup. They have stars. And when the chips are down, as we saw this weekend and the Cardinals learned, you're not going to hold them down. You're not going to keep Tatis and Machado and Reyes, from doing serious damage when San Diego's got to win 2 games to at least tie that series. So we saw the difference that star power can make. And I think that was another takeaway from the series.
Yeah, we beat this too. We've talked about it so often, just the lack of star power from the Cardinals. And it's true. You go out there and, you have Nolan Arenado, whose decline has been steady. Wilson Contreras is probably the household name of this franchise at this point, but it's not like it's a star-studded roster. It's the exact opposite, and that was the design of this season. You're not going to go out and stack your roster with free agent signings because that's not what the Cardinals elected to do or said they were going to do at the start of the season. I will say, not a good day for Michael McGrevy. 4 2 thirds, 9 hits, 7 earned runs, just 2 strikeouts. And I think Michael McGrevy is going to be a sturdy middle of the rotation option, but he is the prototype, the typical Cardinal prototype of pitch to contact. And we have seen specifically over the second half of June and all of July, the detriments of having a fully pitch to contact staff outside of Sonny Gray. So some days are going to look like this for Michael McGrevy. The key for him going forward is limiting it so it's not as continuous as it was for Eric Fetty, as it sometimes is for Miles Michaelis and for Andre Palante. I liked what McGrevy said after the game. He said straight up, I wasn't good today. Getting first 2 strikes on Tatis was great. And then walking him to start the game was unacceptable. That just can't happen. And I thought that was really refreshing to just off the bat with, without us really even having to dive into these questions, him just say, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that as a pitch to contact guy. I can't be walking guys to start the game. So no, he doesn't have a lot of swing and miss. Just like most of the rotation, he's not going to blow guys' doors away. But he understands how he needs to be successful at this level based on the type of pitcher that he is. And that gives me a little bit more confidence going forward. Again, you're going to have days that look like this from McGrevy. I'm willing to throw out the Colorado start because it's Colorado and it's just weird. I get it. But how he handles things and his mentality, I think, is a refreshing approach. And I'm interested to see how that develops over the next 2 months of the season, because we're going to see him the next 2 months of the season, finally.
Right, and so it's so tough for me anyway to project where any of these guys fit in next season. I'm with you. I think he'll go into spring. Well, he'll go into the off season. I would think, barring some kind of injury, he'll go into the off season. With tentatively as one of their starting pitchers next season. And the only reason I hesitate at all, and I'm probably being overly thorough where I want to think about every possibility. It's like, well, who knows what may transpire over the winter? I mean, if they can make a trade where they even at this trade deadline, some kind of trade that involves multiple players, where the Cardinals get a young starting pitcher with term left. You never know. I mean, Quinn Matthews should be ready next season. The kid they drafted out of Tennessee, he's going to be on a fast track. Roby might figure into this. So it's going to be interesting to see how they'll line up next year, because we don't know who exactly will be ready or who they may add. So I do think McGrevy's in their plans, and certainly nothing that happened today would get me to say, oh, I'm not so sure. Now, if this happens over and over again, then I think we have to, we'll have to take a little bit of a step back. One of the appeals of McGrevy is that the little that he pitched, he was very, very, very good, but he also benefited from the comparisons, frankly, to Fetty and Michaelis, right? Because when pretty much everyone's like, this is ridiculous, these two guys, how are they still in the rotation? Well, I think that kind of takes McGrevy and maybe elevates him in the fans' mind, maybe the media mind too. It sort of elevates him to a level of prominence that he hasn't quite earned yet. Just by comparison, right? So
I totally get that.
Yeah. So, but I really like him a lot for the reasons, the qualities that you just talked about.
Yeah. So we'll see. And this was the whole point of the season, finally, for McGrevy, at least, to see what he has, how he responds, as the Cardinals presumably shift to sellers and the next 2 months of the season look a lot different in terms of competing. These outings won't mean, I don't want to say they won't mean as much, but they won't be evaluated as harshly. Because once the Cardinals sell, and we'll get to this, it's not going to be a complete fire sale. But once you shift to sellers and your next 2 months of the season are defined, it gets much, much easier to just evaluate players on a performance basis individually. So let's talk about that. A little game we've been playing upstairs is who will be the first Cardinal traded at the deadline. We know that John Mozeliak has called some rival teams and let him know he's listening on relievers. Ryan Helsley, Phil Maton, Steven Matz, Jojo Romero. Bernie, nice call by you, is garnering a ton of interest from contending teams because he has that extra year of control. Bernie, who is the first Cardinal to be traded? Or let's make it a little bit more vague. Who's the most likely to be traded from the Cardinals this year?
Well, I think a certain baseball reporter at The Athletic had something about how it would be the most likely Cardinal to be traded would be Phil Maton.
Yep.
And I don't know who that reporter is, or I forget who that was.
Let's put it this way: if Maton gets traded, she sounds really smart. If he doesn't,
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. I was going to say Catherine. Somebody. Oh, that's right. Katie Woo. No, I'm just teasing, of course. No, I would agree with that. I think a deal with him would be easier to make. Why I went with him, and maybe for the same reason you identified him, and you identified him first as the most likely. But I agree with you, is because I think the Helsley thing, if there is as much interest in him as we assume, I think Mo will be able to leverage that. And it's one of those things that'll probably go down to the last day, in the last hours, because you're going to have all teams. It's hard to get a closer, a straight up closer like this. And there will be 2 or 3 on the market. It's not like he's the only one. But I think the Helsley deal is a little trickier because I think the Cardinals are going to hold out for a big price. So yeah, that's what I would. Who knows? Matz could be the first one to go, but all the attention is going to be on those guys for sure. But I think the other 2 would go before Helsley. I could be wrong, obviously.
I think Maton is so interesting, and I wrote about this in The Athletic. He is every contender's ideal reliever dream. He has 2 months of control. He's 32 years old. He's been in the league for almost 10 years. He's pitched in the postseason every season dating back to 2021. He has all the experience. If you look at Maton's StatCast page on Baseball Savant, it's like a nerd's dream. Everything is red except for fastball velo, which is like as blue as it could be. And despite having virtually no velocity, he's still one of the most effective setup men in the game. So he has all these traits that contending teams really like when you're looking to upgrade your bullpen. Those 7th inning, 8th inning guys make or break playoff teams. And Phil Maton has the pedigree of a veteran pitcher, of an experienced pitcher. Postseason experience matters. He's been traded at the deadline before, I think 3 times in his career. So he has all the experience. This won't be a new experience for him. The adjustment won't be difficult. He doesn't, also, if you know Phil Maton at all, he's pretty pretty straight up. So not a super overly emotional guy. He's a winning reliever that's going to make a contending team better. There's going to be a market for him. Doesn't have really any money owed. He signed a $2 million deal in March. So all of these things, to your point, Bernie, make him easier to move than Helsley. I still think Helsley's going to go, but I think, like you said, it's going to be kind of down to the wire, the last, maybe right before the deadline. There's a ton of interest in Ryan Helsley, but it's going to be easier to move Phil Maton. I hope that Phil Maton goes out there and has a chance to be on a competitive team for the next 2 months. I really do. And then I hope the Cardinals bring him back, because he has been a really good piece here for this club.
I wanted to ask you a question, and because you wrote a story talking to Helsley, and it got a lot of attention naturally. I saw I
was a little surprised about that.
No, these aggregator sites were just all over the place. Insider says, Ryan Helsley.
Helsley said this.
I know, but you know what I mean. I just love that. Everybody, it's like the locusts come swarming. Anyway, no, I found it interesting that he, you interviewed him, and his quote was that he thought it was, what did he say, 90% he'll go. I was a little surprised by that, but let me ask you, and you're not working in, you're not in the meetings with Mo and all them, but do you think there's more of a chance that he'll still be a Cardinal? I just want to know how you view it, putting his quotes or his comments aside. Do you think they're going to have a hard? I still don't trust them to make the right decision. I still think they'll get all, their heart will go a flutter. Oh, it's our guy, blah, blah, blah. I hope they don't do that, because that is fraught with risk. And I understand the qualifying offer thing, but the one thing I would say is Chaim Bloom, really want to give Ryan Helsley, who very well may be in decline, not to the point where he's going to go off the cliff. Does he really want to give him say $21 million next season? That doesn't seem to be like something he would want to do. I could be wrong.
I don't think the Jets want to do that.
Right. So the worst thing they can do is just ride it out with him. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's no disrespect. Right. It's no disrespect to Ryan Helsley, man. But what would be the point? There's no point in it. I mean, it would just be the final opportunity to cash him in, and he is an asset. And then you can't just blow it again. Right. You just can't do that.
He does. And, I thought he was going to be the first to go over the offseason, and so did he. I mean, multiple times he said this over the offseason. He said it going through arbitration. He said it coming into spring training, that he thought he was going to be traded. And so did everyone else in the industry. That the Cardinals did not move Helsley in November when he was at his top value still baffles most rival executives. Just in my conversations around the industry, they still are so confused as to why that move was not made. And we know what the Cardinals' rationale was. They wanted to compete, and to their credit, they did compete for most of the first half. Then the rotation exploded and the offense took a nosedive, and here we are. But Helsley has been dealing with trade rumors and the expectation that he is going to be traded for now almost 9 months. So he's used to it. And he was like, this is as high as it's ever been. I was pretty convinced I was going to go in the offseason. Now I'm really convinced I'm going to go. It's just a matter of time. And the demand will be high. Like you said, there are not that many closers. There are a couple, but a true ninth inning flamethrower with one of the best fastballs in baseball is going to command a big return. And the Cardinals know that. That's why I think Helsley is going to wait. John Mozeliak is notorious for pulling off a deadline deal at the buzzer. He does this every year. It's a very stressful time because just when you think they're done, because trades can still come in after the deadline. They just have to be agreed to before that deadline.
Gotcha.
So sometimes, you'll get a deadline trade that comes through at like 5:30 p.m., even if the deadline is 5. Anyway.
What do you think, if you don't mind me asking you a question, what do you think, who's the most likely, let's expand this. I like to think, who's the most likely reliever to go first? I'll change this question a little bit. Do you think, what are the chances a position player gets traded? And like, who do you think would be the most likely position player to be traded? And, so what do you think?
I like this question, and I'll preface this with I know that we have been putting out a lot of reports about the Dodgers' interest in Brendan Donovan. That's legit. That's real. They want him. Of course, teams want Brendan Donovan. Why wouldn't you? He's a winning player. But teams can have interest all they want. It doesn't matter if the other team has no interest in trading with them. Now, I'm not saying the Cardinals have zero interest in trading Brendan Donovan. I am saying that return is going to have to be colossal. They are rightfully asking for a lot, which means the likelihood of any Donovan deal being traded remains remarkably slim. The only reason we're going to still keep bringing this up is because we know the Dodgers are in play, and you can't count the Dodgers out from anything. And they're one of the rare teams that have a ton of pieces the Cardinals could be interested in as they move towards the future. I don't want to bring this into a debate as if the Cardinals should trade Donovan or should not. I don't want them to, but I understand why from a business standpoint that would be the case. I don't think they're going to. I don't think the Cardinals, as we sit here on July 27th, one game over 500, still have not definitively declared a decision, are going to do a big fire sale. I think they're going to offload the guys that are rentals, that are on expiring deals. Maybe you're listening on Jojo Romero because he has some value. But the position players that have garnered the most interest are Donovan, Herrera, Burleson, and Nootbaar. And I don't see now as the time to trade them. We could have entirely different conversations in the offseason about those 4 guys. But I would give the Cardinals trading a key position player before July 31st. Those are really slim odds for me, Bernie.
I would agree with you that they're slim odds, but I'll say this. Hold on 1
second, Bernie.
Sure.
The St. Louis Cardinals have traded Eric Fetty to the Braves in exchange for cash considerations or a player to be named later. So Eric Fetty finds a home. Atlanta transfers Grant Holmes to the 60-day injured list. He's a Brave. All right, breaking news.
Good for him.
Okay.
I mean, I hope because he's a fine fellow. I hope he gets something going.
He's a great dude. Handled what was a very trying 8 weeks of his career with absolute class and professionalism. Right. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I have much respect to him. No, okay, I'll say this. I agree with you. I would say, I would, if I had a handicap, I'd say I'd be really, really surprised if they trade Brendan Donovan. But I'm going to have a different take on this, and I've been thinking about it a lot this weekend. It's because, they have, like, Gray would be, even though he's been slumping lately, there'd be a ton of interest in Gray if they could just trade him, and the no trade thing wasn't there. I think there's teams looking for right-handed bats all over the place. So Contreras, there'd be a market for him, especially the way he's playing first base. There's no doubt in my mind. So, but let's take the no trade clause guys out of this. And I'm like, well, for a team that thinks it can win a World Series in the next 2 or 3 years, and a team that knows if you get Brendan Donovan, you get the rest of this year, and then you got 2 more years of control before he becomes a free agent, right? And I look at Brendan Donovan, and the thing, I'm going to feel like such a horrible person here. I'm just going to feel like a really bad guy. I think he's a really good player. I love him. Like, he's probably my favorite guy to watch. But that has nothing to do with whether they should trade him or not. My point being, I've been around in St. Louis a long time, and here I go again, sounding like the old know-it-all, and I don't mean to. I think because the lack of star power with the Cardinals, the way it's it's just kind of regressed, with the previous regime and all that previous era, all the stars they had, it was unbelievable. And now it's going to the opposite extreme where they don't have like one really big star. They have some really good dudes, but not that one huge star. I think there's always been a tendency in this market. I think it starts with the Cardinals themselves. In a situation like this, where Brendan Donovan is someone that the fans love, he's popular with the media, he's respected by the media because of the way he plays. I think we overrate guys like that. I think we overrate guys like that.
I'm guilty of that for sure.
And I understand why. I just explained why, But if someone wants to quote overpay, and I don't know how I would define overpay, that's the point. We don't know. If someone wants him bad enough and is really willing to pony up, and the Cardinals make a pretty big ask and they say yes, I think you got to seriously consider it. You know why? There's a guy named Weatherholt who's going to be playing second base, and you could plug him in right now, really. And I know they could move Donovan to left field. I get all that. I do. I'm just saying, let's be careful not to overrate him. And that's not directed to you or anyone else in the media or me. That's directed more to the Cardinals than anybody, because they're the one who makes the decision. Don't overrate him. Don't worry about, well, if we trade him, boy, the fans are going to be mad. The fans are already mad. Okay.
There were like 10 fans at this game.
I know. So, but do you see my point? It's like, I'm just saying, hey, listen, no one should be untouchable other than JJ Weatherholt. No one should be untouchable, period.
I agree. And the Cardinals have had a really rough time in evaluating their own internal talent. Their in-house player development model is completely outdated. Player evaluation model, excuse me. And it leads to them holding on to players far past their prime. Dylan Carlson, Tyler O'Neill come to mind. Just when you have an opportunity to move someone at their peak, I mean, you could even throw in Ryan Helsley. Good teams move on that, but they have, to a fault, been stubborn on moving their own guys. And I would hate to see Brendan Donovan go. I think he's a player you build around. I think he's a winning player. I don't think he's the star or the face of the franchise, but I think he's an instrumental piece of this club going forward. But if Chaim Bloom thinks the Cardinals are 2-3 years away from contending, and Brendan Donovan has 2 years of arbitration remaining before he's a free agent, those timelines don't match up with me. And if you can get a haul for Brendan Donovan right now, I understand from a business perspective why you would do that.
You got to give it a hard. You really got
to move.
No, you really got to think about it. If they really got if they said, well, here's what it's going to take, and the other team said, okay, well, then you got to go, okay, deal. You just got to do it. If everything you ask, they say yes, what's the point of asking them if you're not going to agree to it if they give you everything you ask for? And I will say this, and I don't think this is influencing me. I really don't. But I was just like looking, and if you throw in today's game, like his last 33 games, he's hitting around 217, 218. His on-base percentage is under 300. So the only reason I bring that up, it's because something you just said. The Cardinals, maybe when a player has been at his best, and then maybe there's some signs that his best is not going to hold up over time. And you see signs where maybe, okay, he kind of hit his peak this season, and he really hasn't been all that good the last month, 5 weeks. Maybe this is if someone blows us away, who knows? Maybe this time we should get ahead of the curve a little bit rather than waiting too long. So I have all these ideas in my head. Some of them probably don't make sense. Some of them do make sense, but I'm just saying, you can't say no to anything if you're the Cardinals. You got to collect as much talent as you can.
You can't. And we'll see if that actually is how things go down come July 31st. We got to get to our DraftKings segment. We got a couple players to watch in this upcoming series against the Miami Marlins. Let's get to it. All right, our DraftKings player spotlight, powered by DraftKings. Did not do that intro right. A lot of multitasking involved on this one.
Right.
I want to shout you out, Bernie, again. I think you were spot on teams being intrigued by Jojo Romero. Let's look at Jojo Romero's stats real quick. And we know how the season started for him. Many of us clamoring for him to go back to Memphis. But overall, 40 games, 2.12 ERA, 34 strikeouts, and 34 innings. Just pretty strong from the left side. And I think Jojo Romero, who has one more year left before he's a free agent, so 1 year remaining of team control, will be. I like how the Cardinals just now announced that trade for Eric Fetty. The Braves announced it like 15 minutes ago. All right, thank you. He's a weapon for me for a contending club, and he's interesting because he's one of those relievers, the rare relievers the Cardinals are listening on that's not a rental. And I wonder if a team like the Padres or a team like the Dodgers, who is looking for relief help, would be interested in a Jojo Romero. What do you think?
Listen, I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but I've been on this for about 2 or 3 weeks, because the reason why is because Jojo Romero got off to such a terrible start. There's an assumption that, okay, well, he's all right. He's not bad. He's pretty good, that kind of thing. But there were some problems he had last year, and then the problems he had most of April this year. You kind of like, I think I'm going to speak for myself. I didn't realize just how great he's been. So let's go back to starting April the 27th, right? He's made 29 relief appearances. He's got a 0.36 ERA, and he's in terms of inherited runners, he's inherited 15. None of them have scored. Now,
great stat.
I mean, a 0.36 ERA since April the 27th, and 15 for 15 in preventing runners from scoring. He's also, he's death on left-handed hitters. He's good. He can get you a couple right-handed hitters out. I mean, and you got a season of contract control left. I mean, to me, he may be as valuable as a guy like Helsley, because he's not going to be a free agent after the season. So, and I think a year of contract control is a big deal with some teams, because it's such a bonus. So I got to believe there's going to be, you even said there's a lot of interest that's been building on him, and they got to move him too. They just have to do it because they may, if you had told me or you or anybody, like when he was in the throes of just getting battered in April, well, they're going to trade him at the end of July and they're going to get this awesome package. People would say, dudette, are you okay? Do you need to go get a checkup or something? What are you talking about? But he's been that dominant. So I think he's one of the more intriguing pieces, not just from the Cardinals. I think anywhere in baseball for all these teams looking for relievers. I
agree. I would be surprised if Romero was not moved, and the Cardinals do have some leverage. Like we said, John Mozeliak is in no rush to sell, because he doesn't have to. He has the leverage here. Contending teams want relievers. Mo has the power here. Now it's on him to actually swing the right deals that will benefit the future of the club. So if you want to be skeptical about that, I won't fight you on it. But Jojo Romero is a guy that could bring you a little bit of a better return package because of that added year of control. Bernie, I know our games are over today for Sunday's game, but do you have anything to look forward to for your lines for Pick 6 tomorrow?
Here's the deal. It's tough to do it the way I'd like to do it on a Sunday, because they don't, DraftKings, and this is true of everybody, but DraftKings, they're not going to post the lines for Monday's game until tomorrow morning sometime. And then throughout the day, they'll update it. So I want to make this perfectly clear. You're going to have to go to DraftKings.com or just enter DraftKings Pick 6. Google that, you'll find it. And you'll have to look at the menu tomorrow. And if you see one that says 5.5 plus strikeouts, like in other words, the wager on the fantasy wager is basically, you think Daniel Cabrera, who's pitching for the Marlins tomorrow, that he'll get more than 5.5 strikeouts, which means he's got to strike out at least 6, right? Then you would go higher. You would go, higher, or you would go over, whatever terminology you want to use. But so you would go with him to exceed that. If you think, well, the Cardinals haven't been striking out a lot or whatever, or he's due for a bad start, I think he'll strike out 5 instead of 6. So you'll have to look at that, but make sure you check that line tomorrow. I'm assuming it's going to be around 5.5. And I was looking at Cabrera, like his last, 7 or 8 starts. He's been striking out people left and right, and he's hit 6 strikeouts in just about every one of them. I think he might have had one there where it was 5. So my point is, he's got a chance to do that. And I would be taking a hard look at that if, in fact, it is going to be 5.5 strikeouts going above that.
All right, so you can go ahead and check that out at DraftKings. Again, tomorrow's probables for the Cardinals-Marlins series, Cabrera versus Palante. You can download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Yes, it is.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Bernie, take it away.
Yeah, I was going to say I had for as far as DraftKings, a couple weekends ago I did okay. It was just a modest little play, but I bet I picked three people and they all came through, right? And so on a $10 bet I made like $90. So that's an example. Listen, and I'm an honest guy. I'm not saying that, oh, Katie, it's no problem. I bat 1,000 in this. No, but if you do some numbers on it, and it's easy to do because that DraftKings app. All you got to do is click on a player if you're interested in whether he can get more than 1.5 total bases or something like that. DraftKings gives you the info of like his trends, like his game logs in the last 7, 8, 9, so you can see the way he's been trending. So they give you good information. Anyway, I love DraftKings, and so I just wanted to throw that in there.
There you go. There you have it. Bernie, I noticed before we wrap this one up that you're wearing a Foul Territory hat.
Well, yeah.
So for those of you on YouTube, you can tell it's a fine hat. Very cute, very aesthetic. For those of you on the podcast, I guess you'll have to buy one to see it. And I have some fun news for Cardinal Territory supporters. Our Cardinal Territory shop is officially open. So we have our own merchandise available. I'm super excited. That shop opened today, this morning. We have shirts, bags, coffee mugs, stickers, backpacks, purses. We'll have hats very soon. So our Cardinal Territory shop officially open. Go buy some merch. The official store name is cardinalterritoryshop.com. So very easy to remember. We'll have a lot more information on that in the next week. Might even do a giveaway. I love a giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
So check it out. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to have like 17 Cardinal Territory shirts. That's all I'm going to wear on this podcast going forward. So be one of the very first to have our brand new, very stylish Cardinal Territory shirts, merch, gear out, available now.
Well, now you got to go for a Cardinal Territory cap, though, don't you? That's a good look.
As soon as the hats come out, I'll buy one.
It's a good look. It really is.
Yeah.
So I think you need to do that too.
Here's the one that I really like. We have these duffel bags out, like a gym bag almost. Oh. And they come in different colors. There's white, black, and red. And it's already in my cart. So it's a coffee mug. I love a coffee mug. I have like 200, but what's 201? And of course, some shirts. We have male size, women's size, sweatshirts, crew necks. Yeah, a lot. I knew we were getting a shop. I didn't know how extensive it would be. So I was pleasantly surprised when I logged in.
That's exciting. And I love caps, so I can't wait to get one of the Cardinal Territory caps. I'm going to probably email someone and say, listen, man, I need to get hooked up here.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. So I think our boss, Mark, I think he's actually pretty cool that way because he sent me this a long time ago.
Are you listening? Huh? So now you're having Cardinal Territory shop open right now. Go check it out. Buy some things. Treat yourself. You deserve it. All right, Bernie. 4 more days until we can put this trade deadline behind us. Marlins are coming to St. Louis for 3 games. Marlins. I know it's the Marlins, but I love this. They are 13-8 in July. Their road splits actually not too bad, 26-24. They're 6-2 coming out of the break, and the Marlins don't do a lot of things right, but they do pitch very well. Cardinals will throw out Palante, Sonny Gray on Tuesday, Miles Miklasz on Monday, and then an off day on the trade deadline. So, look.
Well,
I've been under the belief that the Cardinals should sell ever since that disastrous road trip to Arizona and Colorado. I think I deserved hazard pay for having to sit through that. But I don't think that these next couple of games should dictate their course. I hope they don't. Otherwise, we're going to have a very spirited Cardinal Territory episode when the deadline is over. I think the Cardinals will soft sell. I think it's the right call to do. Even if that means, some maybe painful baseball in the final 2 months of the season. If you're looking for the future, now is the time to build for it. Let's just see what the Cardinals do over the next couple of days. Bernie, any parting words for our viewers?
Well, I just, the Marlins are really good. Just a very quickie here. I promise, because I wrote it down just for this reason, so I wouldn't be fumbling around. They were 13 games under 500 back on June the 13th, I believe, and since then they have the second best record in the National League. Only the Brewers have been better, so this is a really good team. In fact, I would dare I say they're a better team than the Cardinals right now. If we track, no, it's serious. If we track this back to the middle of June, okay, the Marlins have a much better record than the Cardinals, and their starting pitching is really good. The Cardinals starting pitching, not so good. And the Marlins actually surprised me a little because they score more runs than I assumed that they were. They're a really good club right now. They just completely transformed since the middle of June. I'm really intrigued by them. I think they have more of a wild card shot than the Cardinals do. I really do. And if they come here and sweep, they'll be right there.
But they'll still sell, Bernie. I mean, this is the Miami Marlins we're talking about.
Oh, I agree.
They're going to sell. They're going to try. I
agree,
Andy. But they're a competitive club, so I it's easy to look. The Cardinals lost 2 or 3 to the Rockies and were shut out for the first time. The Rockies shut out a team for the first time in 220 games. Okay, so everyone is a threat for the Cardinals right now. So that's a good way to be optimistic about the upcoming series and the trade deadline. Here we are, Cardinal Territory, good vibes only. Don't forget, check out our store. We'll have some episodes for you next week. And of course, we'll have a trade deadline wrap up. If we have anything newsworthy, we'll have it up at The Athletic. Bernie will have it, I'm sure. And then we'll come here and we'll break it down for you guys. It'll be a busy week, but hopefully we'll have some news for you shortly. For Bernie, I'm Katie. Thanks as always for watching Cardinal Territory. I know July's been a little bit of a bummer for this team, but hopefully this has made it a little less worse. Thanks as always for the support. We will talk to you guys next week.